dual pistols, a teal tank top, a body made of jagged, blocky polygons.
Nice.
If you grew up on a PlayStation, you know exactly who this is. And for a whole generation, she was the face of it. But Lara Croft wasn't born on PlayStation. Tomb Raider launched first on the Sega Saturn. A small British studio called Core Design built it on Sega's hardware for Sega's machine. Lara was a Sega girl before she was ever a Sony one, and one man at Sony couldn't stand it. Sean Layden, who'd go on to run PlayStation's worldwide studios, went to Core Design himself, hoping to bring the game to PlayStation. Years later, he admitted it was the one time in his career he felt genuinely jealous of a rival. So Sony did the only thing it could. It paid a check in 1997 to lock Tomb Raider to PlayStation and buy Lara's place in your childhood. That iconic PlayStation memory? Purchased. And that was the first time someone else decided who Lara Croft would be. It wouldn't be the last, because over the next 30 years, nearly everyone who touched her tried to walk away, cash her in, or kill her off for good. Her creator quit at the peak. Her own team murdered her just to be free of her. Her studio collapsed twice. The company that owned her sold her for scraps, and Lara Croft is still here, right now, being reborn again. This is the story of the woman nobody could keep and nobody could kill. This is the attempted murder of Lara Croft. The story starts about as far from a global icon as you can get. Derby, England, the mid-90s. A small team of 6 people at Core Design building a game about raiding tombs. The man designing its hero was Toby Gard, and the character he was building was nothing like the one the world would come to know. His Lara was cool, collected, morally conflicted, closer to an anti-hero than a standard action hero. In his own words, she was never meant to be a page 3 girl. The idea was a heroine, someone in control. Even her name went through more changes than most people realize. The only concept wasn't Lara Croft at all. It was Laura Cruz, a South American mercenary, an idea that came from concept artist Guy Miller. Laura became Lara not long after, and Cruz was replaced later in development by Vicky Arnold, the game's writer, who was looking for something that sounded proper British. Her memory is that the surname came straight out of the local Derby phone book. Eidos, the publisher, had modest expectations. Company president Ian Livingston later admitted they'd budgeted for 100,000 copies. It sold over 7 million. And Lara didn't just sell games, she transcended the screen entirely. U2 commissioned custom Lara footage for their Pop Mart Stadium tour. Lucozade built years of advertising around her. She landed on magazine covers, and not just gaming magazines, fashion and culture ones. She wasn't a video game character anymore. She was a celebrity. And then there was the other thing. If you played the original, you remember the pyramids. Lara's chest was 2 jagged spikes, and the internet's favorite story says it was an accident. A designer meant to incrementally scale up slipped and accidentally produced those iconic peaks, and the team liked it too much to fix it. Here's the thing, that story traces back to Toby Gard himself in a 1997 interview, being asked about it and giving a sarcastic answer. Slip of the mouse, he said. Wanted to expand them 50%, then whoops, 150%. Darn. It was a joke about how ridiculous the question was. People took it literally, and it's been repeated as fact for almost 30 years. It wasn't the only myth. Half the planet's playgrounds swore there was a nude code, and there wasn't. It never existed, though one magazine actually printed a fake one anyway. The rumor annoyed one of Core's programmers, Gavin Rummery, so much that he built his revenge into the sequel. At the end of Tomb Raider 2, Lara, about to step into the shower, turns and shoots the player for spying on her. 12 months earlier, nobody outside Derby knew her name. Now she was on drinks ads, stadium screens, and magazine covers around the world. And the man who actually created her, he saw where this was heading before almost anyone. That Lara was becoming something he never intended. He was about to walk away from everything. By early 1997, Tomb Raider had become a global phenomenon, and the royalty checks were about to get very, very large. That's when Toby Gard resigned. Seems counterintuitive, right? His game was everywhere. Lara Croft was conquering the world. So why walk away? Gard had lost control of her. Not the games, the image, how she was marketed, how she was sold, decisions about his own character that were no longer his to make. And for Gard, that wasn't something he was willing to sit and watch happen. So he walked, and walking away meant walking away from the money. Gard went on to start a new studio, Confounding Factor, with reportedly £50,000, roughly what his Tomb Raider royalties had been paying him every 2 months. That was the trade he made, a fortune arriving over and over for as long as Lara kept selling, given up just to be free of what she was becoming. And everything he feared came true. Eidos didn't just market Lara, they built a version of her that could walk around in the real world. Starting in 1997, they hired actual women to appear as Lara at trade shows and press events. Rona Mitra first, as the official face of the character. Then, from 1998, Nell McAndrew. And in 1999, after McAndrew posed for Playboy with Tomb Raider imagery attached to the shoot, Eidos fired her. Lara didn't belong to her creator. She belonged to a corporation, and the corporation wanted a new Tomb Raider game every single year. Gard was the first person to run from Lara Croft. He wouldn't be the last, because back in Derby, the team still building her year after year after year was reaching breaking point, and what they did about it, nobody saw coming. How do you make a game as big and as accomplished as Tomb Raider every single year? You don't. Not without breaking people. The schedule was relentless. Tomb Raider in 1996, Tomb Raider 2 in 97, Tomb Raider 3 in 1998, each one built in under a year. Staff have described what that did to them. Crunch running until 2 or 3 in the morning for months. People sleeping under desks, in chairs, in cupboards. By the time the second game shipped, the team was already burned out. The schedule didn't care. A fourth game was due in 1999, and by then, the team had had enough. Andy Sandham, who wrote that game, The Last Revelation, put it plainly. They were, in his words, all a little sick of Lara, and killing her off, the thinking went, might finally free them to move on to something new. So that's exactly what they did. They didn't pitch it. They didn't ask permission. They wrote Lara's death into the ending and quietly built it. The Last Revelation ends in a collapsing temple at Giza. Lara's old mentor, Von Croy, reaches out for her hand, but Lara hesitates. She doesn't trust him, and in that hesitation, she falls. Von Croy tries to catch her, fails, and flees as the temple seals itself shut behind her. The last shot is Von Croy standing at the rubble, taking off his hat. The Tomb Raider, dead in a tomb, doomed, in the end, by her own distrust. And the people upstairs had no idea this was coming. Sandham had described it as a moment of catharsis. They knew they wouldn't get away with it, but they did it anyway, just to see what would happen. He'd even considered going further, having her decapitated, before deciding against it. In his words, because they figured Jeremy would probably decapitate them. He wasn't far off. The boss of core design, Jeremy Heath Smith, found out his own studio had killed gaming's most valuable woman when he watched the finished scene. Sandham distinctly remembers one loud coming through the wall from Heath Smith's office. But the scene was built. The deadline was immovable. The game shipped. Millions of players watched Lara Croft die, and it didn't matter. 1 year later, right on schedule, Eidos shipped Tomb Raider Chronicles anyway, set days after her death at her own memorial service at the Croft family estate. Her friends gathered in the rain, recounting her past adventures while she lay dead under Egypt. The next Tomb Raider was, in effect, her funeral, built by the same team that had just killed her. For the paycheck, as Sandham put it. Her creator had run and couldn't take her with him. Her own team had buried her, and the games kept coming anyway. Killing Lara Croft changed nothing at all, but there was one hope left in Derby. The PlayStation 2 was coming, and with it, the chance to finally escape the assembly line. No more annual deadline, real time, real ambition. One big swing to reinvent Lara from the ground up. The game that was supposed to fix everything is the game that destroyed them. Quick message before we continue. If you really enjoy these deep dives into the games we grew up with and want even more, then you belong in the Squidz Squad. Memberships get you early access to videos like this one, behind the scenes stuff, and a say in what we cover next. Simply hit the join button down below. Now, back to the video. For the first time in their lives, the team at Core had time. No annual deadline, a next generation console, and ambition to match. A darker, older Lara, a sprawling story moving through real cities, more comparable to GTA than your typical Tomb Raider game. It was called Angel of Darkness, and it was going to be everything. Instead, it ended everything. Core had spent years mastering one machine, and the PlayStation 2 was nothing like it. And rather than play it safe on unfamiliar hardware, Core reinvented everything at once. New console, new kind of game, new Lara. Jeremy Heath Smith's diagnosis, years later, was blunt. They had changed too much, and the technology buckled underneath it all. Of the 3.5 years Angel of Darkness spent in development, he admitted roughly 3 were swallowed by tech problems. Then the clock ran out. Eidos needed the game shipped against a critical corporate deadline. Heath Smith reportedly asked for 6 to 8 more weeks. He didn't get them. What shipped in 2003 was, by the team's own accounts, a fraction of the vision. Something like 90% of the original concept cut, and the game visibly unfinished. The PC version's mouse and keyboard controls were reportedly thrown together in a single week. And of everything that was cut, one absence stands out. Angel of Darkness brings Lara back, alive, in Paris, 4 years after her own team had buried her in Egypt. The game was supposed to explain how. A character called the Shaman, a healer who'd found her and nursed her back to health after Giza, was meant to deliver that explanation through flashback. He was cut from the finished game entirely, so Lara just appears. Alive, no explanation, as if her death didn't owe you one. Reviews were brutal. Critics hammered the controls, hammered the bugs, hammered the unfinished story. On Metacritic, it limped away with scores in the low 50s. 4 years earlier, Tomb Raider had been gaming royalty. Now, it was becoming a cautionary tale. And here's what makes Core's collapse sting even more. While their game was falling to pieces, Lara Croft was becoming a movie star. In 2001, Angelina Jolie had played her in a Tomb Raider movie that made over $270 million worldwide, and a sequel hit cinemas in 2003. The very year Angel of Darkness fell apart, the games that built her were dying. The icon they'd created had never been more famous. That same year, Eidos did what had once been unthinkable. They took Tomb Raider away from Core Design and handed it to Crystal Dynamics, another studio Eidos owned, this one in America. Because although Core had created Lara, they had never owned her. Eidos did, and a publisher can move its most valuable character from one of its studios to another whenever it wants. Core wasn't shut down, they were sidelined, still in Derby, while Lara crossed the Atlantic to start a new life without them. And here's the strangest part, Jeremy Heath Smith, the man who lost her, never called it a betrayal. Years later, he admitted that in Eidos' position, he'd have done exactly the same thing. Core Design made Lara Croft, and Lara Croft made Core Design. One of them was about to learn it couldn't survive without the other. Sidelined wasn't the same as finished. Core was still an Eidos studio, and if they couldn't have Lara's future, they decided they'd rebuild her past. they began a complete ground-up remake of the very first Tomb Raider, the game that started everything. The veteran who pitched it, Gavin Rummery, called it his Great White Hope. Core had reportedly built the remake more than half finished when Eidos pulled the plug, handing the official remake to Crystal Dynamics instead. Core's version was scrapped, and in 2006, Eidos sold Core off, selling the studio itself while keeping Tomb Raider for the company. The people who created Lara Croft were out. What remained of them spent its final years making games under a different name, until in 2010, their doors closed for good. And Lara? She'd never been more alive. After the disaster of Angel of Darkness, the plan was to rebuild Lara from scratch. New look, new gameplay, a clean start. So Eidos did something nobody would have predicted 10 years earlier. They called Toby Gard. The man who had walked away from Lara because he couldn't stand what she was becoming was now being asked to save her. And surprisingly, he said yes. He redesigned her, co-wrote her, directed her cinematics, and in 2006, Tomb Raider Legend sold nearly 3 million copies in its first month and brought the series back from the dead. The following year, Crystal Dynamics built the remake Core never finished, their own ground-up redo of the original. They called it Anniversary, and then, in 2009, Toby Gard walked away again, this time for good. Why? He's never been able to say. He signed a confidentiality agreement on the way out, and it still keeps him from explaining it. But he did say one thing, that it was an amicable split. No falling out, he just wasn't there anymore. Core was gone. Her creator was gone again, and Lara Croft had never been worth more, which is what makes what came next so hard to explain, because the company that owned her was about to look at the most successful Tomb Raider ever made and call it a failure. Lara's new owner was Square Enix, the Japanese giant behind Final Fantasy. In 2009, they bought Eidos for around £84 million. The deal came with everything Eidos had, the Tomb Raider franchise and the studios that made it, Crystal Dynamics included, a British icon now owned outright from Tokyo, with serious money riding on her. And at first, it looked like a brilliant move. In 2013, Crystal Dynamics did something drastic. They rebooted the whole series with a brand new game called simply Tomb Raider, the same name as the 1996 original. They tore Lara down and started over. Gone was the untouchable 90s icon. In her place, a young, inexperienced woman, shipwrecked and hunted on a hostile island, fighting just to survive. It was a massive gamble, and it worked. The reboot sold 3.4 million copies in its first month and became the best-selling Tomb Raider ever made. And Square Enix was disappointed. Not because it lost money, it broke even inside the first year, but Square Enix had been counting on far more. They'd projected it to sell 5 to 6 million copies and carry the company's entire year. When it came in at 3.4 million, alongside two other games that also fell short, Square Enix posted a loss of more than $100 million, and its president stepped down. The new CEO, Yosuke Matsuda, later admitted the targets they'd set had been extremely high, the biggest hit the series had ever had, and it still wasn't enough. It set a pattern. For the sequel, Square Enix sold timed exclusivity to Microsoft. So for about a year, the character Sony had once paid to make a PlayStation icon was an Xbox exclusive. The fans who'd grown up with her on PlayStation felt like she'd been rented out to the competition. The trilogy ended in 2018, and then Lara went quiet for years, because Square Enix was bleeding money, just not on her. Two of their other Western games, both built on Marvel licenses, reportedly lost in the order of $200 million between them. So in 2022, Square Enix sold off its entire Western business, the studios, and every franchise they owned, Tomb Raider included, to a company called Embracer Group. The price for everything? Around $300 million. By Embracer's own count at the time, Tomb Raider alone had sold close to 90 million copies across its history. Lara Croft sold for $300 million, bundled in with everything else, to help cover losses from games that had nothing to do with her. Square Enix said the proceeds would help fund new ventures elsewhere in their business. She'd survived her creator, she'd survived her studio, twice. Now she'd survived being sold off as a part of a job lot, and the company that bought her was about to fall apart too. The company that bought her was called Embracer, a Swedish giant that had spent years snapping up studios and franchises across the games industry, dozens of them, with Tomb Raider just one more name on the pile, and almost the moment they had her, it all came crashing down. A $2 billion deal with a Saudi backer fell through, Embracer splintered into separate companies, and the studios now holding Tomb Raider were hit with round after round after round of layoffs. It was the same story one more time. Everyone who'd ever taken hold of Lara Croft, her creator, her studios, her owners, ended up broken, sold, or gone. Everyone except her. Because right now, against all of it, Lara Croft is being resurrected again. In 2022, Amazon signed on to publish her next game, and more recently, two more were revealed. One called Catalyst, a brand new adventure set in post-Cataclysm India, and the other, Legacy of Atlantis, a complete ground-up remake of the very first Tomb Raider, the 1996 original. After 30 years, she's going right back to where she began. And it's not just games. Hollywood's relationship with Lara has its own chaotic story. After Angelina Jolie's films, Alicia Vikander took the role in 2018. Amazon, having since acquired MGM, was meant to bring her back for a sequel. But the deal had a deadline for when filming needed to begin. And as that deadline approached, the people meant to be driving it forward weren't. The rights lapsed, Vikander was out, and after a scramble to figure out what happened next, the future of Lara Croft on screen ended up consolidated at Amazon anyway, just not the version anyone had been expecting. What's happening there now is a brand new live-action series written by Phoebe Waller-Bridge and starring Sophie Turner as Lara. It's currently filming, and the records keep stacking up. In late 2025, Guinness confirmed two of them, official and current. Lara Croft is the best-selling video game heroine of all time, and the video game character who has appeared on the most magazine covers ever, over 2,300 of them. Think about everything we've talked about. Toby Gard left, core design collapsed, Eidos disappeared, Square Enix sold her, Embracer broke itself apart. Every company that owned Lara Croft changed beyond recognition. Some don't even exist anymore. Yet somehow, the woman they were all arguing over keeps coming back. New owner, new timeline, new reboot, same result. Lara Croft survives. Every hand that ever held Lara Croft let go or got crushed. She's the only one still standing. So let me leave you with the thing I can't stop turning over. Lara Croft is immortal. We've just watched her prove it. But why? Maybe it's because she's a great character, one that genuinely matters to the people who grew up with her. Maybe it's because she's simply too valuable as a brand to ever let die, a name that gets dug back up and resold every time the last owner goes under. Or maybe those two things stopped being separable a very long time ago. But now it's time for the Dan Squidz discussion, where you get to share your thoughts and opinions on this topic. After everything you've just heard, do you think Tomb Raider is one of the truly great franchises in gaming history? Or has it always been a bit of a mess? A franchise that's lacked real direction and care and just gets lucky often enough to survive? Drop your answer in the comments. I read every single one and I'm curious what you actually think. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the history of Tomb Raider and want to see more videos like it, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. It really helps out. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Dan Squidz, and this is the home of retro, classic, and nostalgia gaming. Much love, fam, and I'll see you in the next one.